do for a group of people who are tech when I don't do tech. So I thought I'll do Adventures in Self-Publishing because I am a self-published author. I got self-published in 2013 after a long adventure. And so these are some of my adventures. I wrote my first novel at age 15. Lots more through college and graduate school. Unfortunately, they were never published. I don't think they will be. Because, yeah. So in 1986, I decided to submit an 800-page typewritten opus called Children of Stone. Okay. After 4 rejections, I decided to concentrate on raising my family. Okay, in those days you had to mail the typewritten stuff off and send enough money back for it to come back to you. So, you know, after 4 rejections, it was just tiring. So then while the kids were growing up, and this is one of those over there, I continued revising the story. First it was on 3.5 diskettes. Finally, I learned about Word documents a little bit. And then I decided once the kids were all gone and off on their own, that maybe, at the urging of my daughter actually, I should try to publish these again. So I looked around and I thought, well, like, what kind of publishing house am I going to use? Am I going to use an agent? Who am I going to get to publish this thing? Do I really have the patience, is what it boiled down with, to wait for somebody to like my book and decide to publish it? Well, then I discovered about self-publishing. Never heard of that before. I'd heard of Vanity Press, and that just seemed kind of you know. But I realized there's a whole new world of self-publishing. So I decided to give the speech because some of you have self-published, I found out, and some of you may want to. I could get the book, or I could still go with traditional. So then I decided to do a little study on which would be better. With traditional, you query the publisher. When it's accepted, an advance is paid. It's published, marketed, and distributed by the publisher. Okay?
Would there be any chance you could stand to the side of the screen so you're not blocking our review of
Oh,
slide?
okay, good. There we go.
Yeah,
There.
that's good.
Perfect.
All right, better idea. Okay. Self or indie publishing. The author is the publisher. Okay, you hire somebody to do the formatting, text, cover art. Hire somebody if you want to set the whole thing up, or you can do part of it yourself. But the part that makes a lot of people nervous is that you're responsible for ordering copies, marketing, sales, shipping, everything else. Okay? So here's the benefits and drawbacks of each method. I have, as you see, the top row is traditional, bottom row is indie. Traditional might take years before you find an agent or a publishing house, years before manuscript is released as a book. Indie takes about 3 months for a paperback, and they're pretty good. They come out looking sort of like this.
Yeah.
They're nice. Okay. If you do an ebook, you have 24 hours, and suddenly you have an ebook, which can be picked up on anybody's Kindle. Okay. Now, traditional publishing house, once you're accepted, you don't pay anything. The publishing house sets a price, and if what's agreed on, you're issued a check for royalty. Okay, that seems great. However, if it doesn't sell, you're just out of luck because you basically have sold your rights to produce the book to whatever publisher. So, you know, if it doesn't sell in about 6 months, it's not going to probably, and that's the end of your book. Okay. With indie, it can. Oh, what? No, that's a camera going up. I thought it was a question. Okay. Okay. And it can cost you thousands of dollars that you spend. And you can reduce your costs by learning to do your own work, which is what I'm in the process of doing. With control, this is the main thing and the main reason why even traditional authors who are already published are going to indie. And that's actually the smartest. If this was available to me 40 years ago, I would have gone the traditional route and then branched down to indie after I made a name. So if you're young, you can do that.
What is indie?
Independent publishing.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay. It's individual or self-publishing. It's the new fancy name for, it's not exactly vanity press, but it's kind of like the 21st century version of vanity press. With traditional, editors can change your manuscript until you may not even recognize it, take out whole chapters, delete characters, change the ending if they feel like it, and you really don't have control over that.
Take out all the good jokes because they don't understand them.
Right. Look at all, like you said, look at all the good jokes as they don't understand it. And, you know, because basically they're interested in producing, they're not interested in making you happy. They're interested in producing a product that's going to sell. So if they don't like it, they'll contact you, they'll say, you know, we don't like this backstory that you had here. The reader won't care. Okay. So then you have to go with that.
Do they warn you or anything that they're going to change?
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It just depends on who you have. If you have a small house, they might. This is from what I've heard. Some of the larger houses will just do it. And okay.
Change the ending.
Change it. With your independent publishing, so I'll say it longer, the editing's up to you. You can edit or change your book as much as you wish. With book one, I changed it once. I have a version 2, which is actually a little tighter, better, and worked on it. But I did that when I produced the ebook. Because at first, I went, I'm not going to do an ebook. You know, who wants to read the ebook? Because I'm kind of old-fashioned like that. And then everybody said, no, you really need to do an ebook. So when I did the ebook, I made some changes in the original manuscript, and then I produced it. Okay, but you can change your book as much as you wish. You just have to resubmit it, no extra cost. If you have somebody else do it, it will cost you something though. Okay, so I decided naturally to go with indie, and I chose the Giant, which is Createspace. It's a print-on-demand or POD company. What they do is you send them your PDF format, and they store it on, I guess, a chip or whatever they store things on these days.
Hard drive, yeah.
Right, the internet.
Not in the cloud.
There is no cloud, there's just on people's computers.
Right. And whenever somebody orders a book, they print one up for you and send it. Or you can order some if you think you're going to sell them personally. I just ordered 10 more of book 2.
Amazon did that before the Kindle because I did one with Kindle Publishing, and the advantage is if you can update as many as you like. The only problem is there are some limitations. I don't know if this was 2-3 years ago, where you have a TOC, but the TOC jumps to the main title of each chapter. And there was an argument in the community, what do you do with the chapter number? Now, if you know HTML like I do, some reasonable HTML, you can actually put a chapter number, but the link from the TOC goes to the title. The chapter number can still be a large font and all that, so it looks decent,
Yeah. Well, see, as I said, my format guy is over there. Anyway, so it's the Createspace was owned by Amazon. It wasn't when I first started with them, but Amazon and they kind of got together. Createspace is the largest of the print-on-demand companies. They're smaller ones, like BookBub, things like that. As I prepared the manuscript for Children of Stone, I realized it was already long enough to be a series of perhaps 6 or 7 books. So I called the first book Voices in Crystal. That is this one. Now, this one was totally done by Createspace, okay? And they did I'll get it in a minute, the interior formatting, okay? The way it's set up and everything else. All right. Okay. I use the online tutorial they give, which is, they're very nice about it. They'll talk about the price and everything. And then I send them the PDF file. For a cost, they set up the interior, assign the ISBN number, design the cover. I learned that all changes cost extra if you go through them. I had 20 corrections that were like punctuation, minor grammar, $120. You know, because they claimed it changes the paging.
It could.
I'm going,
It could, yeah.
how? So then I realized, okay, well, I'm going to be sending out things that potentially aren't perfect here. That's one of the big criticisms of self-publishing. That, and even if you pay somebody to edit it, there's still going to be mistakes. So I figured, well, I'll just try to do it in-house. This is my editor for my second book. Okay.
You want me to come talk now about it?
Huh?
Is it on this slide or the next slide?
You're on the next line. You're on the next slide. Okay. Okay. Soon a review copy appeared online. Print copies arrived, and I was published. That's me. That's the books. A stack of them. I'm selling at a fair. Okay. There you go. Okay, so I sold books to friends and relatives, gave away a few reviews, almost all 5-star came in. I advertised on Facebook, learned to tweet, tried hashtags, Google blog, gave interviews, put up tables at craft fairs, made a LinkedIn and an Amazon page, met authors, joined a writers group. Sales were slow, very slow. Okay. I authorized a revision ebook, like I told you before, published book 2, Going Forth by Day. That's this one. Okay? All right. This cost about half the price of my first book because my son formatted the book. And now he's going to come up and he's going to tell you what he did.
Oh, okay. So, now we get to talk a little engineering and mechanical on these books and the dynamics of formatting them. Stop me if you already know too much of this at all. But, so, things to look at when you're going through the book. First of all, on Createspace, they will do the cover for you. If you don't have a cover artist or you can't figure out your own cover art, you know, if you're like me and you're just with crayons and stuff, they will get you an image for your book and they'll do the cover for you if you just give them basically a PDF of all the interior content that's already formatted. And as long as it's in the right size and set up properly, it'll look right in your book. But the thing is, it's your responsibility at that point. If you happen to get the margin off about an inch on one page, well, you're going to have an inch of your text cut off. So the way you do that, actually, if you're using Microsoft Word as a base tool, and that's what I use, so I'm going to go in terms of that. They have tabs up there where you can set up the page specifically, and there's a lot of websites out there which you can use as resources to tell you what the proper sizing will be. And also, Createspace has a guide on it that kind of tells which one they want or which sizes are available, and those are based on basically the sizes that paper is mass-produced in. It's only be working with what they have mass-produced. They're not going to give you one that has, you know, a book that is triangle-shaped or something. Well, possibly. Some of those, maybe they're newer books they like to do that with, but it's more difficult. In any case, what you want to pay attention to first is the font that you use and the spacing that you use. You want to have something that's easy to read. Printing an entire book in Arial is probably going to annoy your reader.
Oh, thanks.
What fonts did you use?
This book I formatted in a font called Garamond.
Yes,
which,
that's what, yes.
But see, fonts are almost like fashions in decorating and clothes. Which ones are in changes per year, and once enough people use that font, everybody gets sick of it and a new font becomes trendy. So you kind of got to pay attention to that one. Me, I like Garamond because it's not Times New Roman. It looks like Times New Roman, but it isn't. But it's still a serif font, so you can you have all of the edges in the letters and everything, as opposed to sans serif like Arial, where you're just looking at straight up and down lines. And of course, the spacing on the page, how wide you put these apart. If you crunch them all vertically, then everybody with astigmatism is going to hate you.
We both have
but-
astigmatism.
Yes, but in general, in Microsoft Word 2, you can set a formatting for headers, and you can also put a table of contents at the beginning of the file that will actually pick up everything that is in this certain header and will list it. If you update the table, it'll automatically populate whatever is written in that style. If you have 2007 or later, it'll pick up that style, which I formatted all the chapter titles in that style, and every time I update the table of contents, it grabs all the text that's in that header and puts one on each line for each separate instance of it. So if you accidentally say format one word or a period in the header style, then update your table of contents, you're going to have an extra period in your table of contents, and you're going to have to figure out where it came from and then take it out. As for the actual pages themselves, so here's the real mechanical part of it. Your book, of course, has a binding, and your binding is going to take up a certain amount of page on this side for where the glue actually is. And you also want to give it some distance based on the fact that you don't want to have the words sucked into the very edge of the page. So there's actually a tool within the page setup in Microsoft Word that allows you to do reflected margins on the page. So one page will have have more margin on one side than the other. The even pages will have more margin on the left side, and the odd pages will have more margin on the right side. Or it might be the other way around, but in any case, it's different per side. And basically, so you go on the internet and look at Amazon's guide that they have too, and that'll give you an idea of how much you need to include. And there's about 5 different ways to do it. Some people say include it as a gutter. Some people say include it as the reflected margins. Other people say have a base margin in addition to that. But the whole point is there's ways to get it, and you look online and compare about 4 or 5 of the guides, and you can kind of condense what you need to know to make the formatting right when you look through all the different guides and see which kind of lines agree within them. And is there anything else about the formatting of the book here? The other thing you could include is chapter dividers, which are usually included as images in the book. You want to say have a blank page, you want to tell where a section is going to be divided. I included all these on as dividers between main chapters or between main parts of the book. And I also had a second level header for the larger parts. Anything else you want me to bring up about the formatting?
That's about it.
Okay. Any questions on the formatting also?
Any questions on formatting? Nope,
Okay.
everybody's good.
I do
Okay.
have one.
Yes?
To my eyes, that print looks gray, not black. Oh, okay, so I think it's a distance.
Okay.
Yeah, it was such a good one.
Okay.
A lot of, remember the book we did in London?
Yes,
And it was light?
yes.
Yeah,
I've got a
this,
copy,
you
I
have
can
to-
show it, yes.
you have to pay careful attention when you're going to the Word file because you'll have scraps of formatting. There's a little, if you've never seen it, there's a paragraph button in the top of Microsoft Word
Right.
that will show you every space, every tab,
Yeah.
every line
Yeah.
return and page break. And I edit like that normally, and it annoys her when I send her the file and still have that turned on.
Yeah.
What are all these dots? It's just the spaces, just a white space.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yes?
Okay.
Have you had experience with publishers not liking you to use Word at all? I've had printers who say, I know you're giving me a PDF, but the PDF was created from a Word file, and we hate Word, even though it's converted to PDF. From what you're saying, Amazon and Createspace are quite happy to live with that.
Well, okay, there's a little bit on that I remember I should bring up. There's different standards which you can create your PDF by. And those standards are usually in the print to PDF feature in Microsoft Word. And it took me about a good 10 or 15 tries going through it to get it to print to PDF and look just right when I actually opened it in Adobe.
Yes.
Sometimes it'll include extra margin on the bottom, or it'll do other things. And there's certain standards also you don't want to check. Like there's, I think, something, it talks about an ISO standard for PDFs was one of the options. And if you check that, it doesn't quite work right. Another thing you have to do is you have to change the setting in Microsoft Word to actually embed the fonts in the file.
Yes.
That makes your Word file a little bit larger, because normally 2007 and past, they just call for the style. And if you don't have that font in your computer, it'll just open it up in one of the Word generic fonts, and that'll throw all the pages off and make everything look wrong. So you have to change the option to actually embed the font with the file. And then when it creates the PDF, it'll appear in that font, actually. But it's basically, I mean, it's only digital files, so you're just writing and rewriting a drive again and again. But the whole point is it does take some trial and error to get it to look just right on the page. And you have to toy around with it. As I said before, you have to go around to different websites and see which font you want, which book size you want, and then setting the paper size right in Microsoft Word and getting the margins in just the right box. Because the internet will say, well, the margins are called this, this, and this. It's called your gutter, it's called your left, it's called your right. You open Word, that's not the name they use for them. They use a different name for all of them. So it's a game of toying around a bit, but in general, you print out a page or two after you toy around, and oh, this looks like I want it to look? Good. I'll take it.
All right. Okay, and
Oh, is that
so,
another question?
I'm trying to look for software, like if you write in the software and then it's publishing, it's print this as an ebook or as a PDF, or to have at one place everything and then produce the output from it. Is that software?
There may be softwares out there like that, but I haven't looked for them because I just tend to try and figure it out. I bang my head against the wall till the wall breaks.
Yeah, there's
You're in the right crowd.
designed for that.
I'm a programmer. What guy's a programmer and a computer guy? I'm gonna keep trying till it works.
that's how they lost their hair, right? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, and now back to me. So, Odd Tricks shows good information. Okay, there's about 10 rules that I could think of. First, promote but don't pester. Develop your best version of the elevator speech. Does anyone need to know what an elevator speech is?
What is it?
Okay, that's if you're on an elevator in, let's say, a multi-story building, and somebody says, "What is your book about? Can you sell it before they get off at their floor?" Usually two sentences will do. And so my elevator speech, it's a man's journey to becoming a god in the ancient world. That's all. And they either go, well, that's interesting, or see you later. Okay.
But just out of curiosity, how do you think it would go if you started with, there's this old HP calculator, the...
Yeah, that would work in this room, I'll tell you. Okay, all right. So, and everybody always tells me, well, try to get on Oprah. Forget Oprah. Because there is a actually quite famous woman who does nonfiction named Gisela Hausmann. I don't know if anybody has ever read her works, but you should be reading them if you expect to self-publish. She does naked emails, naked marketing, and they're very short books. She's a Facebook friend. I ran into her. And The Naked Truth About Getting Reviews. And her books are very short, 50 to 100 pages. It tells you what to do and what not to do. She tried for 15 years to get on Oprah. She tweaked her material. She did everything she could. Then she came to find out that Oprah won't look at you unless she already knows who you are already. You know, she has her own little group of people that publish, and that's who she calls on. Okay? So Gisela suggests you try local TV and newsletters. If anybody's interested, if they are self-publishing, I can give you a link to look at, so you can order some of her very inexpensive books. She's even got one on for free right now. Okay, so you carry copies with you like I do, just in case. Okay, swag. That was a term I learned the first fair I went to. You can see all these little things right there. We've decided we don't know what the acronym means as far as...
Stands for stuff we all get.
Stuff we all get. Okay, interesting. No, well, this is an example of my swag. I hand make these little things that are stones because there are stones involved in the book, and it is a bookmark. So, there. So if you get a book, you get one of those. I call it sealed with a gift. So, another acronym. Okay. You read other people's works and review them. Do not get caught in the trap of swaps. Because somebody will say, I'll review your book if you review mine, and they suddenly have given you a 5-star review that has a very generic and glowing review. And it, you know, you feel really, really terrible if you read their book and it's a real stinker. Yeah, because they've already given you this 5-star review, and you're just kind of like going, all right, 5 stars, whatever, go away, you know. And you know, this happened to me about twice, and then I said, all right, I'm not doing this anymore. I will read people's books, and if they decide that they would like to buy mine and read it, we're good. Okay. It means it kind of cuts down on the numbers of them, but it makes them more honest. Okay. You attend writers' groups and genre conventions. Genre, see, mine's generically fantasy, but it's actually science fiction, fantasy, epic, paranormal, normal, historical, and mythological. So, a lot of hats. After much struggle, I found out that I should be actually just with the science fiction and fantasy crowd. And I'm going to start doing more of the conventions this year. I do have a writers group, and what we do is we sit around once a month, and we each read a chapter of the book that we've worked on, and you have 6 critics right there that tell you, well, you know, you missed a sentence here, you missed a period. So it's like you have five or six in-house editors right there. You have to ask around for groups like that. I found that wasn't really the norm. Okay, learn what works and what doesn't. Big thing, number 8, don't quit your day job, because there really isn't that much money in it. I mean, things like Harry Potter and 50 Shades of Grey, which incidentally, that's so storied. That's all marketing coup. That isn't necessarily they were great writers. They just knew how to sell it and who to sell it to. Most people don't. They said the average of what people sell that self-publish is somewhere under 500 copies. That's it. You're not going to make a living. You may break even. Okay. But it says stay upbeat and happy and keep writing. Okay. Now, what's next for me? I'll promote book 3, which is Opener of the Sky. I expect to have it out next year. It's a continuation of the same story. I put this picture here because I was stunned and said that would be a perfect picture. Now the big thing is my son's going to be trying to find and has already found the artist. So what I'm going to have to do is contact this artist and see what their price would be, or what kind of thing, perk they want, licensing, for me to use this. If it doesn't go at all, I have a photographer friend who has taken pictures out west. Maybe he has something that would be similar that we could tweak the color on and use. But this was awesome, and I hope that the guy will work with me without costing me all of my profits, which I haven't made yet. Okay, anyway, I'll be learning more about marketing and how to save even more money. I'll submit my existing books through Smashwords, even cheaper. It goes to more ebook markets. I'll learn formatting so I don't have to bother Tom, and look into audiobooks and graphic novels. Now, I'll take your questions, if there are any. Yes?
Can you control what the retail price will be? In other words,
yes.
If you want a big margin and you think it's high value for whatever reason, so you can say it's $1,000 a copy and there's Createspace is just going to get their fixed cost, or is it a percentage?
If I understand what you were asking, they have a set price that they charge you for their services. My first book, when they do everything, ran about 1,000. Okay, now when you order more copies, second book, or because Tom did the formatting, ran about 500. The cover is the big cost. So a lot of people either have an artist friend that'll do it, And buying your own ISBN and getting your own copy done, getting your own formatting done, it won't cost you a dime. But, you know, if you have a lot of people that you can call in favors for.
But the per unit cost, is it fixed or is it a percentage? In other words,
it's a percentage. It's based on, okay, truth. This one sells for, you know, on Amazon, I have it listed at about $20.99. The other one, because it's bigger, is $24.99. The cost of each to print is $7 and about $6.50. Okay, so it's a percentage.
No, it's not a percentage.
Huh?
It's a flat fee.
It's a flat fee. Okay, thank you.
No, it's not based on a percentage. So if we charge $100, it'd still be $7 to print it.
oh, okay.
Oh, okay. They don't recommend that because thanks to another demonic stunt that Amazon pulled, which was
I like that.
they had one where they basically made Amazon like Netflix. Did anyone ever hear about that? You subscribe for $9 a month, and you can download every single book you can fit on your Kindle for absolutely free. And what does the author get out of that? It used to be, what you got out of that was once they read 10% of the book, you get paid for the book. Then they went to the second level of hell and decided they would pay you by the page that was read. So people are pulling their books off of that program fast. But the only problem is that the public now expects books to be free or 99 cents. I don't care if it's a 1,000-page opus.
Yeah.
They don't want to pay in the ebook. So my ebooks are about $2.99. They're staying that way. That's what they started at. I'm figuring for a 400-page book, anything less than that is just dumb and aggravating. I may drop the price. What? Time? Bye-bye. Yes, what?
I've always wondered how the ISBN works, with like the ebooks and self-publishing and stuff.
Okay, this is going to be the last question because I've been given the hook here. Okay.
Like, do you get an ISBN for an ebook? Is it a different system? Does it
I
not
don't know
have
what
an
their
ISBN?
system is, but they will assign it or you can buy them. But thank you very much. I do have copies if anybody's curious on getting an early Christmas gift, okay?
Thank you.